What's happening? This is Joshua Boetsi and you're watching Sporting Icons.
Right, firstly, thank you very much to Sonny for pointing me in the direction of this recent interview with Anthony Yarde. Anthony Yarde, his last fight, of course, he lost on points to Lyndon Arthur. Now, immediately after this fight, he did say that he felt it was a robbery, he won the fight, all that kind of thing. For me, that was the first mistake. He didn't win that fight. Lyndon Arthur won that fight, in my opinion. It was a close fight, doesn't matter really which way you had it. Robbery is not a word you could really use. But in this interview, he said that he's not going to say he's not going to leave Tunde Ajayi. He's not going to say that he will leave Tunde Ajayi. But he will be making huge changes. He's recognised that. So we can interpret that however which way that we choose. And time will tell what will happen as far as Tunde Ajayi's role in the camp of Anthony Yarde. Now, my personal opinion is Tunde Ajayi will always be part of Anthony Yarde's life in one capacity or another. I don't think that he'll just cut ties and move on. Not at all. These guys have been through a lot for quite some time. Now, is Tunde Ajayi the right man for Anthony Yarde? How good a trainer is he? Well, there's nothing really to brag about as far as Tunde Ajayi's history, but he hasn't just been with Anthony Yarde. A lot of people don't realise that. He has been around the block a little bit. And he has taken advice, and he does have people that around him, some very, very good people. Very good people. But the thing is, when it comes to Anthony Yarde, the biggest issue that I always had was up until the Sergey Kovalev fight, who's he fighting? Absolute Uber drivers. Any talk of a Boati, any talk of a Hosea Burton, any talk of a Callum Johnson, no. Not interested. Never fought for the British title. Never fought for the Commonwealth title. Never fought for a European title. Never fought for any kind of title other than a version of the European from the WBO. It's a trinket belt. It doesn't mean anything. But he wasn't fighting anybody. So obviously when he got in there with Sergey Kovalev, I don't really know what it is that people expected of Anthony Yarde. Sure, he's got a puncher's chance. That's for sure. But he got systematically beaten up in that fight. Beaten up. Sergey Kovalev, again, he's been around the block. You can't put anything down to age or anything like that, but you could see that the fundamentals for Anthony Yarde weren't there. The advice from Tunde Ajayi in his corner of empty the tank, very, very bizarre for me and many of you. But only Tunde Ajayi knows what makes Anthony Yarde tick. But what we're seeing is in the Sergey Kovalev fight and the Lyndon Arthur fight. Well, actually, let's go back to the Sergey Kovalev fight. You can't build up Anthony Yarde because he had one good round. You can't. It's a 12-round fight. What about the rest of the rounds? What about the rest of the fight? Yes, he was emptying the tank and had Sergey Kovalev all over the place. But that's one round. You don't win one round and say, see, he belongs at this level. No, you don't. It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. Shouting lions in the camp gets a little bit boring after a while. Gets a little bit tedious. You need a little bit more than just shouting around lions in the camp. Against Lyndon Arthur, that's pretty much all it was that we're hearing. Lions in the camp. Lions in the camp. What does that do? It doesn't do anything. That's not suggesting how you block the jab. Again, go back to the fundamentals of boxing. What's one of the first things that you learn in boxing? Defense. You learn to use the jab and how to defend the jab. Anthony Yarde, he's okay using the jab, but couldn't defend it if his life depended on it. And that's the blueprint to beat Anthony Yarde. Jab him to death. That's what you do. That's what Kovalev done. And now Lyndon Arthur done the same thing. So he hasn't learned anything since the Sergey Kovalev fight. Sure, we can say that in the lead up to this fight, of course, long periods of inactivity and that, due to the virus and everything and the pandemic that's been going on in the world, Anthony Yarde felt it a lot more than most of us did, as in he lost people very, very close to him. Did that play a role in the Lyndon Arthur fight? Maybe. But if you're not quite right, you shouldn't be fighting. That's the truth of it, isn't it? And it's no shame to lose to Lyndon Arthur, by the way. In fact, I was picking Lyndon Arthur to win this fight beforehand. So it's no shame in that. But it is a shame when you're saying it was a robbery. I clearly won that fight. Because that tells you, you don't know what happened in that fight. You don't know how you got to the distance and you lost the fight. You don't know yourself. Tunde Ajayi, of course, he comes under a lot of criticism because he is quite outspoken. And for me, I like his character. I like the role that he plays. And I think I understand part of his role. It isn't just to train Anthony Yarde. Of course, that's the most important thing. But it's to take the blame, take the eyes, take the focus off Anthony Yarde. So he's not the one who's getting it by all sides of the world when people criticise. Tunde Ajayi speaks in a certain way, so people just totally forget about Anthony Yarde and look at Tunde Ajayi. It's a Jose Mourinho trick, isn't it? That's what he used to do when he was a Chelsea manager and that as well. Take the focus off the team so people threw their frustrations and their angers and their criticism towards him. He can handle it. Tunde Ajayi can handle it. But Anthony Yarde does need to take a bit of blame for a lot of this himself. He knows his capabilities. He knows where he's lacking. Surely, if he doesn't, then that's worrying. We can say, well, he didn't have an outstanding amateur career. Maybe he turned pro a little bit too soon. It's a fair comment, but you deal with the cards that you're dealt, and he decided to turn pro. So when you turn pro, after a certain amount of time, we as boxing fans expect certain things. We don't expect you to fight people that we've never heard of for a prolonged period and then get in there with a Sergey Kovalev. I don't want to be hearing from Tunde Ajayi and Anthony Yarde and their camp how, well, the fighters that we're fighting, they're like European level, yada, yada, yada. Well, if the European level, then why wasn't the European title on the line? They're saying, but some of these guys were higher ranked than Joshua Buatsi and a Callum Johnson or whatever. But what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. If you're fighting tougher competition, then why didn't you fight Buatsi or Callum Johnson then? Where a Commonwealth could have been on the line, a British could have been on the line, a European, a fully fledged European could have been on the line. But at the end of the day, as I said, we don't know what makes Anthony Yarde tick. Tunde Ajayi does, or at least he should. Shouting lines in the camp while it raises my eyebrows and a few other people's, maybe that's what Anthony Yarde needs. But surely, I mean, for me, if somebody kept repeating the same thing to me after a while, I'm going to get a little bit bored of it. Even if I came up with the tagline myself, eventually I'm going to get bored of it. Eventually, I'm going to be looking at my corner going, well, what is it that you're doing exactly? You're shouting lines in the camp. Okay, cool. What else are you doing? Why are you forgetting to put my gum shield in? Why is it that I can't block this guy's jab? Why is it that I can't land my own? Why is it that I'm only relying on getting a stoppage win? Why is that? These are the kind of things that Anthony Yarde needs to be asking himself, and by the sounds of it, he is. So while he's not saying, I will be leaving Tunde, or I won't be leaving Tunde, but huge changes. What these huge changes are, again, all we can do right now is speculate. I would probably lean more towards that he'll just be bringing additional people in. Is that going to go down well with Tunde? By the looks of it, Tunde, he does like to be the one overseeing. He likes to be the one in control. That's what he likes. Somebody else coming in is almost like saying, sorry, Tunde, you ain't good enough. How's he going to take that? So, for me, I don't know. But, again, we hear rumours that he doesn't do too much sparring because Tunde doesn't like him doing sparring. Any boxer will tell you the best way to prepare for a fight is to spar. It gets you battle hardened. His endurance is poor. His ability to block a jab is poor. His movement at times is poor. Don't get me wrong, he does everything way better than what I could possibly do, but I'm not a professional fighter. He is. So therefore you have to take the smooth with the rough. You have to. But should he leave Tunde Ajayi? I imagine most people will probably say yes. But I think a lot of people just don't like Tunde Ajayi because of how he is, because he's outspoken, because he's got an opinion. I think that's why. But I think a lot of people do recognise there are some problems there. And I think a lot of it has been not necessarily his coaching style, as much as he could be doing his own his own things that's never really been tried and tested, I don't know. But the management side, in my opinion, lacks quite significantly. As I said before, you don't fight people that most people have never heard of and get them out there in the first round or two and then go fight Sergey Kovalev. Don't talk to me about Sergey Kovalev's age. That's got nothing to do with it. Absolutely nothing to do with it. I mean, look at how Anthony Yarde fought Sergey Kovalev. Look at how Canelo Alvarez fought Sergey Kovalev. The very next fight. Two totally different fights. And by the way, Sergey Kovalev did quite well in spats against Canelo. So he's definitely not past it. But it's the experience. The experience is lacking for Anthony Yarde. Yes, he's getting the experience now, but he's taking 2 losses. After the first loss against Sergey Kovalev, all people want to talk about, as far as Anthony Yarde is concerned, is about that huge round that he had. Okay, as I said before, what about the rest of the fight? Him after Lyndon Arthur saying, I think it was a robbery. I thought that I should have got the decision. No, you shouldn't have. In my opinion, you shouldn't have. And most people's opinion, you shouldn't have. First and foremost, what is it that they say? In order to get over a loss and move on, you have to accept the loss. Listen, it is what it is. As far as I'm aware, I think that Anthony Yarde and Lyndon Arthur will have a rematch. What changes will be made will be told in time, I suppose. But right now, we really have to wait and see. Anyway, you guys and girls, drop your thoughts below. Have an excellent Christmas period. And I'll catch you all on the next video. Subscribe.